Hello and welcome to the live webinar. My name is Chris Shelton, and today we are so excited coming to you live from San Jose, California. Whew. So let's just take a moment and arrive in our seat, sitting up nice and tall. So for today, we are going to discuss the 5 keys to stop treating and start curing disease and chronic pain. Okay, so for today, we are going to introduce you to tips and tools to empower you to not only take care of your own health, but also to help take care and serve the people you care about most, your friends, your family, clients, patients, and pretty much everyone you know. Really, everyone we encounter, we're always excited to share this information with. This talk and presentation is not only brought to you by myself, but also by a very special person, my husband, Chris Shelton. Together, Chris and I have probably over 40 years of experience in the health, fitness, healing arts, and integrative medicine industries. We have used the techniques that we are going to share with you today, not just on ourselves, our kids and family, but really everyone that we know. It's just such a privilege and honor to be of service and to help the community that we get to work with. Our goal for our time together today is to really have you feeling better after the session than you felt when you first came in. I don't know about you, but for us, I will share that this week has been rather intense in San Jose. Not to digress too much, but we have been affected by the fires up north in Paradise. And our love and blessings and healing prayers go out to that community. You know, it's the simple things in life that we really sometimes take for granted, like clean air. And you don't really realize how important it is to your energy and your mood until that is changed. So the air quality has been affected. And to add on to that, we get a new roof over our head. Literally, the complex that we live in is being re-roofed. So a combination of not ideal air quality and loud banging during the day really can give us an opportunity to practice and implement these tips and tools that Chris is going to share with you shortly. So trust me, we've been shaking it off. We've been doing the ha sound really in order to preserve our energy because of the endeavor that our mission and what we really hope to accomplish, which is to empower people and spread love. It's really important that we take care of our own health and manage our own energy despite the environment and what's going on around us, because really how you feel and what you see around you is an expression of what's going on in the inside. So with that said, let's just take a moment to take a nice, long, slow breath, inhaling through the nose and exhale out through the mouth. Do that again. Inhale long and slow. Pause and hold the breath. Exhale, releasing any thoughts of the morning. One more time, long, slow breath. Inhale. And a deep, relaxing exhale. So to move on, we are going to start with a quick video that explains, it really does a beautiful job at showing Chris's story, and really he is my personal hero. I know I might be a little bit biased, but this man has worked so hard on himself and he grinds it out in order to provide the community with tips and healing power. And I am just amazed and impressed and astonished to be by his side every day. And so when you see this video, you'll know what I'm talking about. So if you just stay in that relaxed healing space for a moment while we play the video for you.
When we break down the word Qigong, Qi is the life force energy that emanates through all living things, and Gong is a skill in which to harness this life force energy, and in this case, in order to improve your overall physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. I did a lot of crystal meth in the day, and by the time I was 17, I had my first heart attack from a meth overdose, and put myself into Taekwondo as a means to change my path, because I realized I was going to end up dead or in prison or both. I started competing right away with Taekwondo. I did my first competition when I got my yellow belt, you know. And anyways, one night before a match, I was kicked in the back, which then dropped me to the ground. And doctor said, "Chris, you know, you might be, you know, if you're not careful, you might not ever walk again." My mom was a nurse, and she worked for this amazing chiropractor who father, grandfather, brother, sister were all chiropractors, but also she had studied Chinese medicine and homeopathy, and she had a massage therapist working for her at the time, and they wheeled me in there. And he was a martial artist, and he started talking to me about Qi. Well, now I'm 18 years old, and I'm like, yeah, right. So anyways, I had other health problems too. I had severe sinus problems, digestive problems. I had a slight case of OCD, and I had nothing to lose. I started taking these classes, and back then, this was over 25 years ago, nobody was practicing Qigong, or very few people were practicing Qigong in the United States. And I kid you not, after about 6 months of doing these practices every single day, you know, you just wake up one day and you're like, wow, when did I stop living on the Sudafed and the Actifed, when I stopped living on the Tums and Kaopectate? You know, you don't know when it changed. Like there's not a pinpoint date, but you know that there was a change. And I thought, wow, if a movement, gentle movement and guided meditation could create this much change inside my body, then there must be something to Chinese medicine. So indirectly, because of the Qigong, that instructor I was training with supposedly was teaching Chen style Tai Chi, and Chen style Tai Chi is a martial art. It's the oldest system of Tai Chi. A lot of people, when they hear of Tai Chi, they just think it's what old people do in the park. And so what happened was, after I broke away from him, and then I found my Sifu, who I'm still with today, Tony Wong, who really teaches the traditional Chen Tai Chi. I mean, we're directly connected to Chen Village in China, the Hunan province, and I started competing with Tai Chi in tournaments. I've been in Inside Kung Fu magazine a couple of times, competed at the national level. I was ranked 10th in the US at one point. So yeah, so I dabbled with that too. And then finally with Sanshou, with Kung Lee's fight team, so introduced to Sanshou. Thousands of years ago, before man started to evolve and lose their spiritual centers, and paid more attention to the ego, they were enlightened enough to understand how these internal organs functioned. They were enlightened enough to understand that there are channels in the body, and that there are actually points in the body, and that these vessels and channels and these organs correlate to the seasons, and correlate to different foods that you eat, correlate to different colors. And so that is the foundation of Chinese medicine, is recognizing when the organism itself and its internal environment is not much different than the external environment. So just like there could be a discord in your external environment, weather-wise or in your personal life, that's also can happen on the inside. So when someone says to me, even if it's a disease that I've never heard of before, and they say, "Can you help me with it?" my answer is yes, because I believe that anything is possible. Okay, so that's a brief introduction of my story. All of us have a story, but this was a story that got me to where I am here, how I got to where I am today. And let me tell you, the journey has been amazing. It's been the most amazing journey because it's so life fulfilling to be able to help other people transform. And this is what I'm so passionate about. It's there's nothing better than waking up in the morning and knowing that you're going in to help people become pain-free and or educate them on how to empower themselves on how to take care of their physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. This was the thing that got me interested. This because of that journey of how I got started or introduced to Qigong, and I realized that, wow, how could a simple practice like that create so much change? And this is why I want to share Qigong and Chinese medicine with the world. And what's amazing is that you don't have to wear any special clothing. You don't have to be Chinese in order to practice this. You don't need a yoga mat. It's something that you can take anywhere with you. And so what I want to do today is I want to help healthcare and healing professionals who want to help to inspire and improve their repertoire of practices in order to increase their clients' well-being or their patients' well-being, to once and for all really get rid of chronic pain, depression, anxiety, and change the process of disease. And also, more importantly too, is then to become more conscious and increasing the consciousness of the world. And to increase the consciousness of the world, it all starts with us. And throughout the years, this was the thing that helped me open up and really understand what my part is to the collective unconsciousness, and how my feelings or my emotions and how I was acting or reacting to situations and stimuli not only affected me internally as far as my internal health went, but also how that thought process then radiates out into the community and the world around me. So when we look at health, what's really great is that the style of Qigong that I teach is based upon the 5 elements. And so when we look at health, what are the 5 key components to having great and ultimate health? And the first and foremost one is your physical health. And this is something that it seems like more and more people are, at least here in California, or at least in Los Angeles where we live, as well as in the Bay Area, more people seems like are getting outdoors and doing something, not just sitting on the couch as much. So your physical health is important. We're going to take a look at that, but also your mind and your emotional health. What does that look like? We don't know what's going on inside the minds of others. And I remember hearing Eckhart Tolle, I believe is in his book, The Power of Now, where he said, people will look at homeless people or on the street talking to themselves out loud and think, boy, that person's crazy. But really, if you were to peek into the minds of what you think is quote unquote healthy people and be able to hear the rhetoric that's going on inside their mind, who's really crazy? And so really being able to understand this mind health and this emotional health, and then how it relates back to our physical health. And then, of course, then your financial health. I know that there's some people out there that say that money is not real, and which, there's different arguments about that. But the reality is that money is a form of energy exchange. And at this point in time in our world, we still need to rely upon money in order to be able to have at least the basic necessities of life to be comfortable. And those basic necessities are different for everybody. So everybody's abundance is different. Some people do very well with very little, and some people like to have a lot. And there's no reason why you can't have both. Then the fourth one is your relationship health. And so what does that look like? How are your relationships? How are your relationships with your spouse? How are your relationships with your children? How are your relationships with your friends and family? This is also very important too. And believe it or not, when these healths are out of balance that we're talking about here, it actually is an indicator of disease and actually can create disease. And this is something that's really is overlooked. And this is why we're going to be discussing this today. And fifth, this one here is really important to me because, your career health is your spiritual health, because this is how you're finding your life purpose is of utmost importance. And it's really quite sad how many people out there don't know what they want to do. It's one thing if you're young, just getting out of college and not knowing what you want to do or what is your life purpose. But as we age, we want to get to a place to really discover what is that. But the cool thing is that you're not too old. So if you're like me, if you're 48 years old and you still don't know your life purpose, today can be the day that you start to change yourself and transform yourself and discover what that life purpose is. So when we look at experiencing the benefits of Qigong, it's not only worked for me and my wife, but also the thousands of clients that we've run across and worked with throughout the years and continue to work with on a daily basis. I'll give you an example. Stephen, who suffered from heart palpitations, who was recently on the same webinar, transformed his life and gained control over his heart palpitations in just 6 short months, just by simply applying these practices. And the great thing is that you don't have to believe in it for it to work. These are 5,000-year-old practices. And like I tell people that are skeptical about things like this, is that I think, oh, well, it's some kind of voodoo or some kind of cult or pseudoscience. No, the proof is in the pudding. If it's been around for over 5,000 years, obviously there's something to it. And I'm a very grounded person. When I'm teaching is very practical. I'm not looking for followers. All I'm looking for is for people to empower themselves and to improve the health and well-being of others. And so if Stephen could transform himself just by doing the practices, that's all he did. He did the basic practices as part of our Qigong Teacher Training program, and he applied it to his life every single day, starting off with 15 minutes. Now, I grant you, he was a little bit overly excited about the program, and so he would end up spending an hour to 2 hours every day practicing. But yes, in 6 short months, he got rid of his heart palpitations and his anxiety, whereas in science, his primary wanted to put him on medication or antidepressants. And so Stephen was able, through this program, was able to change and transform his life. And it's something that, if you can relate to Stephen's story, is something that you can do too. Okay, so what we're going to cover today is, like I said, is our physical health. Gentle traditional movements that were found in Qigong. And these movements are easy to do. And actually, people don't realize this, but Qigong is actually the foundation of Tai Chi and is the foundation of acupuncture in Chinese medicine. And when we're looking at physical health, a lot of times people think that you have to do strenuous exercise in order to gain that physical health. But what we're going to look at today is, what does physical health really mean? And yes, working out is fun. I love working out, but it's not everything. There is a deeper component to it. We're going to look at, on a deeper level, your mind health, your mental emotional health. I'm going to run you through a guided meditation called the Center and Balance Meditation. We have this meditation on our Shelton Qigong website that you can download, or you can download it from iTunes. And it's a simple meditation, all meant to get you out of your mind and back into your body, and also, more importantly, to get you to feel and to know your body on a deeper level. Then the key point is going to be key number 3, which is your relationship health. What is that? What does that look like for you? And how does the relationship health actually relate back into your overall state of well-being? And then from there, we're going to go into our financial health. We're just going to take a look at that. What is the energy behind your finances? And also, how does that affect your health? And then the 5th one that we're going to be covering is your career health, which is your spiritual health, aligning yourself with what your life purpose is and discovering what that is. And like I said in the opening of this webinar here, for me, my life purpose is what I'm doing right here, right now, talking to you and hoping to inspire you. So when we look at our physical health, it's not only about doing physical exercise. That's a great way. And in fact, like I tell my clients, it used to be like if you had back problems, or if you had lumbar stenosis or bulging discs or sciatic problems that were your primary would tell you years ago that for bed rest to not to move. And quite honestly, movement is the key to helping to prevent disease. I mean, if you think about it, if you have a body of water and that body of water becomes stagnant, then what happens? Eventually that body of water becomes disease, starts growing algae, and different bacteria starts to grow in the water and such. So that's just a great analogy to what non-movement will do to your insides as well too. So physical exercise is of utmost importance. And like I said, I love working out. And my friend Eric Fleischman, Eric the trainer in Hollywood, the Hollywood physique expert, he has a great way of transforming people's bodies through weightlifting in a healthy and appropriate way to help them gain control and get the look that they want to have. And because he mostly works with celebrity singers and songwriters, being able to transform them so when they're on stage, when they're on camera, to be able to play the part that they want to play. Well, him and I have a great synergy because Eric has such a great heart. He's this big, massive man, but he has such a great heart, and he's so charismatic and funny, and I love hanging around with him. And recently, him and I have been doing talks together. And the reason why we have a great synergy is because he has this amazing way of transforming your body to make you look beautiful in a matter of a few weeks. And where the synergy comes in, my job is to help people look beautiful from the inside. So it's a great yin and yang meeting. And so again, your physical health, yes, working out, at least going for a walk, going out, getting out in nature, dancing, whatever it is, but something that increases movement is key to optimum health, key to increasing the circulation and blood flow around the body, key to mind health, key to helping to release some of the stress in your life. So it's of utmost importance. And as you saw in my short documentary, I was able, through the practice of Qigong, I was able to not only fix my back problem, but because at the time, doctors were saying, Chris, you might not walk again. To where it was, well, Chris, you'll walk again, but you'll never be able to train again. And as you saw in the video, the doctors were saying, well, Chris will train again, but he'll never fight again. I did, as you saw in the video, my last match is at age 40, 8 years ago. And I still train today just for fun. And it's something that fulfills me. And on top of that, like I said in the video, I was able to conquer my severe digestive problems. I mean, severe. I was living on medication and antibiotics. I went through all kinds of tests to try to figure out what was going on with my digestive system. Doctors could not figure it out. But why, after I'd eat something an hour to 2 hours later, I was nauseated or vomiting or in the fetal position because I had such severe abdominal cramping. That all went away. The sinus problems went away. The OCD went away. And I thought, oh my gosh, if a simple movement and meditation can create this much change inside the body, then there must be something to Qigong. And then this is why I decided to pursue my studies in Chinese medicine. So when we look at our physical health, you might be thinking to yourself, I don't understand how these simple, gentle movements will improve my physical health. Your physical health, to be quite honest with you, is based upon the proper functioning of your internal organs. Most of us just take this for granted. And time again, I see people that appear physically fit and yet are still dying of diseases internally. So if they're physically fit and they're still dying, it's not logical for this to happen. I mean, your body wants to be healthy. And, and just a quick little story of Margaret that she had come in. She was a personal trainer and physically fit, healthy. She originally came in for lower back problems. And on the initial exam and interrogation, I was assessing her and her condition. And one of the things that I said to her is I said, well, from Chinese face reading, I was able to say to her that from looking at her face that you have a lot of resentment towards men. And she said to me, she goes, no, I dealt with that stuff years ago. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. So I continued to type her notes, and what was interesting is we got rid of the back problem, and she would still periodically come in if she had a cold or a flu or tweaked her shoulder or something. And then one day, something I saw on her tongue, something I saw on her face, and something she had said
told me that something was wrong with her carotid artery. So I told her, I said, I need you to make an appointment with your primary physician. I want your carotid arteries tested. She goes, you're crazy. She goes, look at me. She goes, I'm physically fit. I work out 1 to 2 hours every day. I eat well. I drink enough water. There's nothing wrong with me. I said, well, this is what I'm seeing. I still recommend you see your primary. 2 weeks later, she was sitting in my office in tears. And she goes, I want to thank you for saving my life, because both my carotid arteries are 70% blocked. So she's eating right, she's exercising, she's drinking enough fluids. What is the one thing that she's missing? And the one thing that she's missing is what's going on with her mental, emotional state. So to summarize it, when we look at our physical health, it's not just about exercising. It's about understanding how what's going on inside of us, how these organs are functioning, will actually manifest on the external. And you know what? She actually she completed last year, she completed our level 2 Qigong Teacher Training course, and is now out there teaching, now inspiring and helping others. And the other cool thing about her story too is that her doctor and I worked together. He didn't put her on any medications. We changed her diet according to Chinese nutrition. We gave her specific Qigong practices that are found in this course. And after 6 months to a year, she went back in and her carotid arteries were clear. So this goes to show just how powerful these practices are. So the truth about your physical health is that your body wants to be healthy. And in fact, your DNA wants to be healthy. Science is now proving that even if you're born into a family that has a history of diabetes, that the DNA itself, the helix itself, for the most part is healthy. There's only small strands of the helix that actually will indicate the disease. So what does that suggest? What science is now showing is that if the person consciously decides to change their environment, consciously decides to change their diet, change how they respond to emotional stimuli in their environment, they don't have to get the disease. And this is being proven over and over and over again. And science is now showing just how the DNA works and the fact that the organism wants to be healthy. When we start to see disease inside the body, it's because there's a blockage. And one of the great things about Qigong is that it helps to unleash and unlock those blockages to allow the organism, to allow your body to thrive and to do what it's supposed to do. Because, you know, a lot of people don't talk about this, but we're all supposed to live to be 120 years old. And that's 120 years living a healthy life and dying a gracious death, not suffering until the day that we die. So you have the ability to take control over your own health care and really take a look at how your physical well-being is. You know, and one final comment on this is that, you know, Phil Jackson, who was the basketball coach for the Chicago Bulls and the Lakers, he was one of the most winningest coaches in all of professional sports. 11 rings to his title. And the thing that he would have his athletes do before they went on the court is that he would have them lay on the court and visualize the game beforehand, during, and after. And he would give them mindfulness practices. Grant you, they were more based upon Buddhist practices, but it's still very similar to mindfulness like taught by John Kabat-Zinn, or the mindfulness practices that are found in Qigong. So ultimately what I'm saying here is that when we look at physical health is also based upon being able to understand and recognize how this mindfulness comes in to increase your sports performance. So this is how it connects back together. Now, the second key here is your mind, is your emotional health. This is of utmost importance to be mindful and in the present moment. If you're mindful and in the present moment, then what's going to happen is that you're going to be able to stay more grounded, more connected, and not become reactive. And that's a huge thing, because how many of us come from a place of reaction? So one of the things that I say to myself in my morning repertoire of co-creating with God my reality, or manifesting what it is that I want, is one of the things I say, which is really important to me, is that I come from a place of conscious action and non-reaction. And if you're able to come from a place of conscious action and non-reaction, then that means that you're in a present moment. Now, I grant you, it takes a lot of practice, but it starts off with what's going on the inside of the body. So when we look at that, so what's going on the inside of the body? You know, there's this heart-mind connection that happens. And, you know, for many, many years, science thought that the frontal cortex of the brain was the center of our consciousness. And now science is now proving that no, that your heart is the center of the consciousness and the mind is the reality of what's going on. So the heart takes the brunt of all the emotion and dictates how much will be expressed or suppressed, which also will indicate disease if it's not expressed appropriately. Because let me tell you, emotions are there for healthy expression. For example, the emotion of anger is not negative if it causes you to stand up to fight for the underdog, if it's something that allows you to create positive change in the world, or if you're in a bad situation to get you out of that bad situation, then that anger is doing you well. But if the anger is causing you depression, if the anger is causing you digestive problems, migraines, sleep disorders, menstrual disorders, eye floaters, eye twitches, facial neuralgia, the list goes on, then that anger now is no longer serving you. So it's understanding this mind-body connection. And there's actually a group of scientists in the Santa Cruz Mountains called Heart Math that are actually proving that when people give a conscious hug, I mean a sincere hug, not one of those one-armed hug, but like a sincere hug, heart to heart, that actually both hearts actually move closer together. And they're now proving that in science that the heart takes on is the consciousness. And what was interesting is that a couple of years ago, Priest and I had the privilege of seeing Eckhart Tolle and Deepak Chopra on stage at the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles. And Deepak Chopra said it best. He told that between the chairs where him and Eckhart were sitting, there was a table with a little vase with a little flower in it. And Deepak Chopra told the audience, a sold-out audience, he said, "Now I want everybody to look at this vase." And he goes, "I want you to study the flower in the vase." So everybody does it. Now Deepak says, "Now I want you to close your eyes." And he goes, "With your eyes closed, can everybody see the flower?" So of course, everybody in the audience nods their head, yes. And now Deepak Chopra tells everybody, he says, "Now open your eyes." He goes, "Nowhere inside your brain is there a flower." So what does this represent? This represents that your mind is a reflection of the reality. The heart takes on what's going on in that reality, and then your mind reflects it back to you. So it's a very, very powerful thing. And being able to understand how to have the proper mind-body connection is of utmost importance. And quite honestly, scientifically speaking too, yes, your brain is the physical organ where hormones and electrical impulses are then transmitted throughout the body, but nowhere can they locate the mind. The mind is not located inside the brain. It's actually located inside the body itself, and there's no way for science to locate it. So yes, when we look at the brain and the mind, it is two separate things because you have the physical location of the brain, you have the physical function of the brain, but then the mind, no one can exactly pinpoint where it is. So talking about mindfulness, I want to walk you guys through a mindfulness meditation. And what I love about Qigong is that it does encompass mindfulness, like was taught by Jon Kabat-Zinn. But also it gives you movements and meditations to specifically do things medicinally inside the body to help to deal with emotional stress and trauma, and also help to deal with disease and physical pain. So what I want you to do is I want you to sit or stand. If you're sitting, I want you to sit at the end of the chair with your feet firmly planted on the floor, about shoulders width apart. Now I'm going to walk you through, normally this meditation takes about 15 minutes. We don't have time for that today, so I'm just running you through a quick version. The tip of the tongue is going to gently curl to the roof of the mouth behind the teeth as if saying the letter N. From there, what's going to happen is that I'm going to go ahead and close my eyes. And I'm going to begin by pulling down the heavens 3 times. So I'm just going to reach up towards the sky. And as I inhale, exhale, just imagine this white light coming down through the body. Inhale, connecting to your higher self, God, the universe, whatever that looks like to you. whatever feels comfortable to you. Or if you don't believe in a higher self, just imagine this white light just coming in, cooling and cleansing the body. And then from there, I want you to start to focus on the front of the body at the top of the forehead. Imagine warm oil that melts down from the top of the forehead, enveloping the temples, the brow bone, the eyes, the nose, the lips, the cheeks, the chin, the jaw structure, the front of the ears, flowing and pouring from the chin into the neck and throat, to the shoulders, the upper chest, the biceps, the elbow creases, the forearms, the wrists, the palms of the hands leading all the way out to the fingertips. And now from there, allow for this warm oil to envelop the entire chest, the midsection, the flanks of the body, the abdomen, the groin, the thighs, the knees, the shins, ankles, the feet and toes, all connecting, and allow for this warm oil to flow down deep into the ground. And then from there, take a moment to feel the entire front of your body from head to toe, feeling the left to right sides of the body. Next, feeling now what's going on behind you. Starting at the crown point at the top of the head, allow for this warm oil to melt down through the scalp, touching every hair follicle, every cell, every tissue. As it melts down behind the ears, the base of the skull to the neck, the shoulders, the triceps and elbows, the forearms, the wrists, the back of the hands leading all the way out to the fingertips. You feel the entire upper back, the mid back, the low back, flowing through the waist, the buttocks, the hamstrings, the back of the knees. Allow this warm oil to penetrate through the thigh or the calves, the ankles, the heels. And once again, just allow for this warm oil to flow down deep into the ground. And now take a moment just to feel the entire back of your body. Feeling it from head to toe. Feeling just as much in the back as you do in the front, as well as to the left and to the right. Next, what's going to happen is you're going to connect with that higher power. Imagine a white light penetrating through the crown point at the top of the head. It penetrates into the brain. You imagine and feel the left and right hemispheres of the brain stem, the nerves from behind the eyes, the bone structure of the face, the sinuses, the inner ear, the jaw structure, the teeth, the gums, the tongue. And now each vertebra from the base of the skull traveling down through the center of the neck and throat. You feel the arteries of the neck, the muscles, the air passageway, branching off into the muscles and fascia of the chest, upper back, and shoulders. Flowing and pouring down through the center of the biceps, triceps, elbows, forearms, wrists, all the small bones and ligaments of the hands and fingers. And now allow for this white light to touch every rib. Feel as the ribs wrap around to the spine on the back. You feel the heart, the lungs, the liver and gallbladder on the right side of the body, the stomach and spleen on the left side, the intestines, the urinary bladder, the kidneys, the pelvic bone, the bones of the legs, the muscles surrounding them, the center of the knees, shins, calves, ankles, feet, and toes. And allow for this white light to flow down deep into the ground. Just take a moment to feel the body. Feel your connection to the earth. And then slowly coming back to the present, pulling down the heavens one time, inhaling and exhale. And slowly open up your eyes, allowing yourself to come back to the present. So that's just a simple meditation, number one, to get you out of your mind and back into your body, but more importantly, to be able to feel your body. You know, they say that the superior doctor is one that can prevent disease before disease sets in. So the idea of Qigong is that you become your own superior doctor, that you're able to feel your body on a deeper level before an organ is out of balance, which starts to indicate disease. And so when people say to me, you know, how can a simple breath practice help me so much? You know, something as simple as just abdominal breathing will help all the macro and micro elements of your internal organs. Because so many of us, as we age, we go from abdominal breathing like we used to do as infants to chest breathing. And as a result of that, that starts to create disease as well too. So when people say to me, Chris, you know, I can't meditate. You know, my mind is going all over the place. You know, I tell them it starts with one conscious breath. Because if you were to inhale all the way deeply, inhaling and exhale, during that one conscious breath, it is impossible for you to think of anything else. And like what Eckhart Tolle says, you know, once you start with one conscious breath, then you can build 2 conscious breaths, 3 conscious breaths. The next thing you know, you may have a 5-minute practice, a 10-minute practice. But like what Eckhart Tolle says, once you start to increase the consciousness of an individual, you can't stop it. You can purposely slow it down, but you can't stop it because they'll still want to evolve. So really the truth about mindfulness is, and our mind and mental emotional health, is that our minds are more powerful than we think they are. We see it over and over again, and probably in your own life where you thought of something and the next thing you know, it shows up. Or if you thought of a person you haven't talked to in a long time, and then all of a sudden they call you. That's not by accident. Our minds, when they are relaxed, are very powerful. And most of us are stuck in our mind. So if we get out of the mind and back into the body, then we can help to create change and improve the overall physiology and functioning of the internal organs, which then helps for a much peaceful, happy, healthy, and longer lifestyle. Now, if you walked with me through that meditation, even though we only did it for about 3 minutes there, I'm sure that you feel a little bit different now. And if you were to start your morning with that simple meditation every single day, then that would change the way the rest of your day would go. So when we look at the third health, which is your relationship health, you know, relationships are of utmost importance. And our relationships, this is my own experience, is based upon the primordial connection with our parents. And so for myself, for example, I grew up in a dysfunctional home, as I talked about in the video. And so my ideas of what healthy relationships were very skewed. They weren't healthy. Nobody ever taught me about healthy boundaries and how to protect ourselves, and by keeping healthy boundaries with people, how that actually helps to enhance our life. And you know, I'm just going to use myself for example. You know, Priest and I have been married now. We just celebrated on 11/11/11. We just celebrated 7 years. But prior to that, I was married twice before, and between both marriages were dysfunctional. And between those 2 dysfunctional marriages, they were very codependent. I didn't realize it at the time being in the relationship, but I had a lot of other codependent and dysfunctional relationships. And it wasn't until after the second dysfunctional relationship that I realized, like, oh, wow, you know, yes, I'm drawing in a lot of crazy people in my life, but there's something must be crazy about me. And that's when I decided to dive in deeper with the Qigong, but also I did other techniques like NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and EFT. And this helped me change, the combination of all 3 helped me change the vibration surrounding how I perceived myself in these relationships, and certain negative components of my being that actually were manifesting in my life and in my relationships. And so, you know, it's really powerful how the emotional mindset that is set up by our parents and witnessing, whether they're affectionate or not affectionate, whether they fight and argue all the time, they're throwing pots and pans at each other, like what was going on in my house. And, you know, that was the norm. And if you don't understand that that's not the norm, you think it is the norm until somebody shows you something different. So when we look at relationship health, you know, what we don't realize that relationship health also goes back to our mental emotional health and our physical health, because the diseases that arise from negative emotions, again, when they are not expressed appropriately, then show up as disease in the body, which then shows up in our relationship. So for example, heart disease is the emotions of abandonment, loneliness, lack of joy, 7.4 million people. diabetes and cancer. This is when your demand for nurturing, anxiety, worry, intellectualizing, overthinking things too much. Those types of emotions, believe it or not, affect your spleen and your pancreas and your stomach, and actually contribute to the formation of diabetes and cancer. 1.5 million people. And that number is only increasing. That number is not going down, which is crazy. Lung diseases, excuse me, like pneumonia. You know, how many people are dying from pneumonia, lung cancer? There's other diseases of the lungs, asthma, and the emotions that affect them, that is the emotions of sadness, grief, disappointment, sorrow, and loss. 3.1 million people. Nephritis, kidney disease, oh my goodness, kidney disease, the negative emotion, fear, fright, and shock. And it's amazing because you would think after all these years that kidney disease would be declining. It's not. In fact, actually right down the street from us, a new dialysis company or medical facility just went in, and all these new dialysis companies are popping up all over the place. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? What is going on in our society that's causing people to have an increase of kidney disease to where they would need dialysis to begin with? And yes, poor diet will do it to you too. Having alcoholism, improper lifestyle habits, not exercising, can contribute to nephritis, but also overworking, burning the candles at both ends, just trying the stress of trying to make ends meet, especially if you live in places like Silicon Valley, where the discrepancy between the rich and the poor is so much. You know, there's no longer, it seems like there's no longer a middle class because the what it costs to live here is unbelievable. That also contributes to the kidney disease. So this number is rising, 2.5 million people. Strokes, which comes about from too much anger, frustration, defensiveness, control. This affects your liver and your gallbladder. And we see this, you know, strokes come up. I'm seeing younger and younger people dying of aneurysms and strokes. And, you know, and the belly fat that's produced from the cortisol from the liver, that all happens from the liver being stressed. And this rolls over into your relationship. So if you come into the relationship with grief and sadness and sorrow from your upbringing, if you have a lot of resentment towards your parents or a significant other or a sibling or something like that, this rolls over. If you grow up in a unsettled home where there's a lot of fear and you were timid all the time, this rolls over into your relationships. And so understanding how these emotions affect the physiology of the body, but then affect every single component of the 5 healths. And what's great about Qigong is that, again, it's something so simple to do to be able to start gaining control and actually transforming that into something positive. So when we look at the relationship health, we might be saying to ourselves, well, I'm single, or I want to be single, or all the good men or women are taken. Well, that's not true. You know, I was able to, you know, to find the love of my life, Parisa, from really cultivating and working through the self-limiting beliefs that were instilled in me and the false perceptions of what a healthy relationship was supposed to be. And that didn't happen overnight. No, it took, you know, after the second divorce, I basically stayed single for about 2.5 years and just focused on raising the kids, running the business and training and competing, and really trying to get to the root of where this dysfunction came from. So the more that you're able to understand how our relationships affect our health will help you understand how to improve your health at the same time. Okay, so basically, if you gain inner peace, if you're balanced internally, just to wrap up here on relationship health, then the relationships around you will be healthy. It's all a vibration. We're all at a different vibration. So if you increase your vibration, guess what? You draw in people of the same vibration. And this is what I tell my kids. What you identify with is what you become. And so if you identify with laziness, not really trying to aspire to improve other people, connection and all those kinds of things, if you just are barely trying to get by in life, well, guess what? You're going to draw in people like that. If you have this understanding that, no, I need to continue to cultivate myself, to bring myself to this higher vibration, then everybody else around you becomes this higher vibration as well too. And then guess what? Then your life is much easier, because if you're drawing in people of a higher vibration, chances are there's going to be less drama in your life as well too. So financial health, as I said in the beginning, a lot of times people say, well, money's not real, but you know what? It's a form of energy, and it's an exchange. You know, my Sifu, Tony Wong, you know, he had said, when I first started teaching years ago, because I said, and I hear this a lot in my field where people say, oh, no, I just want to give back to the public. I don't want any money for it or whatever. But quite honestly, most people need to have some kind of accountability, and being paid for what it is that you do is part of that. Now, what you charge is up to you, but there has to be some type of exchange back and forth, whether it's a barter or whatnot, but there has to be an energy exchange. So when Christine, she is one of our Qigong teachers who just finished up the program, you know, she is now, because she wants to transition her career, she is now out there teaching for us, and is now able to bring in a new form of income. And at the same time bringing in this new form of income, she's out there helping other people from the Qigong Teacher Training program. But then also, just like with me and Parisa, as we teach, we continue to help ourselves. So that's the cool thing about what it is that we do for a living, is that not only do I get to help be a part of the change in this world, but also what I get to do too is that as I'm teaching these classes, I get to also continue to refine myself. You know, a lot of people, there's some people that think that Priest and I, because of what we've been doing for, you know, now I've been doing this for about 25 years, you know, we just sit at home and eat vegetables and meditate all day. And, you know, we live a healthy and a balanced life. But the reality is we still have the same stresses that everybody else has. And so what's nice about what it is I do for a living is that I'm able to apply these practices continually to my life, not only to deal with the stresses of day-to-day life, but also to be able to support my family. Being able to support my family doing what I love to do, teaching classes, helping people improve their health. I mean, it's amazing. So you know, it might be easy for you to say, you might be thinking that you're financially set, but the reality is that once again, you know, your abundancy is what it is to you. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, struggling, you have to always remember, and a lot of times money, finances goes back to our relationship health with our parents. See how it all ties back together, because our parents are the ones that tell us, oh, money's bad, or money doesn't grow on trees, or rich people are rude and have no manners, and that's not the case, you know. So it's all based upon perception. If you're open to abundancy, allow the abundancy to come in. Like what Master Ni says, who's one of the authors that we use for our Qigong Teacher Training program, like he says, there's nothing wrong with having a lot of abundancy. It's just that you don't go out there boasting about it or showing it off. But that abundancy level could be whatever it is. My family in Panama, because most of my family members are on my dad's side are from Panama and actually still live in Panama. And we have some family members that are very poor that all live together. We have other family members that are more well off. And in both sets of the family, whether the poor side or the ones that are more financially set, you know, even the poor side of the family, they are happy. They are content. Everybody works together. Everybody supplies for the household, and they are content. So again, understanding that your finances also represents what is going on. And actually your lungs, believe it or not, control your finances. We can actually look at a person's nose and tell whether the person is stingy with money, whether they invest well with money, and that's not by accident. And it's not that money is everything, because you still have to have the other health, but it is something still essential, at least at this time on this planet, that we need to have, and we need to have responsibility with in order to have a healthy and successful life. You know, the reality is that we've worked hard to get to this place. You know, when I started off Morty Crane Healing Arts Center 18 years ago, I was a butcher, full-time meat manager. I didn't have financial help from my family. I had people that didn't believe in what it is that I was doing. I had even instructors that I had trained with that were trying to tell me that, Chris, you won't make it out there. And the reality is that I just, pulled on those bootstraps there, and I dug in my heels, and I refused to fail. And my goal was to succeed and to get into a career that was actually more in alignment with myself. Because cutting meat, being a meat manager, though it taught me a lot of life skills and helped me appreciate what it's like to be a blue collar worker. I think that everybody should do that, at least for a while in their life, as a part of their adjustment and refinement of life, to help have respect for, your local waitress or your cashier, to help you understand what it is that they go through day in, day out. But the reality is that I knew that it wasn't fulfilling, and then I was able to do transition and do what it is I'm doing today. And again, your external environment is a mirror of the internal. So understanding that, and if you are aligned with what your truth is, whatever that truth is for you, then that will show up plentiful in your outside environment as well. So the last one here, coming up to the end, I hope you guys are enjoying this webinar, but this one is so important to me. This one is your career health. And we're doing some continuing educational classes at Yosan University in Los Angeles with Dr. Mao-Shing Ni. And we're doing a class on career health. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs and healthcare professionals in the room. There's about 60, 70 people. And I'll never forget, but Dr. Mal asked a question. He goes, show of hands, how many people here are happy with their career? And, there's only about 4 or 5 of us that rose our hands. That means that the rest of the people in the room had not found what their life purpose is. So one of the things that Dr. Mal said too, that always stuck with me, is he goes, when you come into this life form on this planet, before you come into this life form, you sign a contract with heaven. You sign a contract with heaven that you are to find what your life purpose is, because this is the way that God or the universe manifests itself through you. It's only by you finding that life purpose that God shows itself, is able to fully express itself. And that always stuck with me, because I feel what I'm doing is God's work. Not that I am God, I wouldn't want that responsibility, but I feel like I'm allowed God to shine through me through the work that I do, which makes it very rewarding. And if you're a healthcare practitioner and you think to yourself, well, I don't have, a big client base yet, if you apply this practice, no matter what you're doing, if you are a personal trainer, if you are a doctor, if you are a psychiatrist, it does not matter what it is that you're doing. This is only something that's another tool in your tool belt to help you be able to help them more. Or if you're somebody watching the webinar that says, hey, you know what, I don't want to teach this to anybody else, I'm not comfortable with teaching, you don't have to go out there and teach. What this course and this program will do for you is it'll help you understand yourself at a deeper level and help you understand that you actually are in control and actually have control over your life and your well-being. Yes, there is destiny, divine, what I call is divine will, and then then we have our free will. And, the free will, we had a lot of wiggle room as far as what we do in our life and then our capabilities to expand and transform. And one of the things I love about being a human being is that we have the ability to transform and change ourselves at any point in time. That's the coolest thing. There's not many other, I don't think there's any other species on this planet that at any point in time can say, you know what, I'm going to go from doing this to this and change themselves. It just takes the first step to be able to want to transform yourself. Because the truth of the matter is that I worked for a long time building Morning Crane. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into the building of the practice. But what I feel is that if you really truly love doing what you're doing, which is serving other people, which is a virtuous deed, then you will succeed. We have so many practitioners that have come through Morning Crane throughout the years that say, Chris, I want to do what you do and stuff. And they don't really understand that you have to apply yourself. In Tai Chi, we call it eating bitter. You have to eat the bitter first to get to the reward. And, it takes about 2 to 3 years. It took me about 3 years. And I had a lot of self-doubt, like, is this what I should be doing for a living? And, you know, I stuck it out, and here I am 18 years later, and what has transformed the results, the benefits, the gifts I've been given, I can't even begin to describe. So even if you have a small client base right now, stick with it. If this is what you want to do, really serving other people, there's nothing more virtuous than serving other people. Then this is something that you could do in order to be able to enhance your practice and be able to help more and more people. So I hope you're enjoying this webinar. I know it's 12 o'clock, we said 1 hour, but I just want to wrap up here with, you know, with what we covered here today. And so just as a wrap up, we covered the 5 healths, which is the physical health, the mental, emotional health, our financial health. We covered our relationship health, our career health, which is our spiritual health. And the reason why we covered these is because having all 5 of these balance is what makes up for a complete life and a balanced life. So the cool thing about Qigong is that you can take it to the next level. So my question to you is, who wants to take it to the next level? Who wants to be the person that helps to create the change? You know, we keep on hearing so many people out there that say, you know, there's a problem with this country, there's a problem with our politics, there's a problem, you know, with our politician, there's poverty. Well, you know, the change actually starts with you. And the only way to create change consciously is to start with yourself and then expand and connect with other like-minded people that have the same mindset. You know, because if you have the mindset that you're going to have the war on drugs, you're going to have the war on poverty, you're going to have the war on immigration, you know what you do is you create more war. And so instead of having that mindset, doing something like Qigong will help you become part of the change. So we're really excited about our Qigong Teacher Training program. I believe, Priest and I, we both believe that this is the best online teacher training program that's out there, because it's designed to help you grow, not to just teach you so you can go out there and get a certificate and teach, but really help you grow, really help you understand what it is that you're doing, why you're doing it according to Chinese medicine. And the cool thing is that you get to become the change. And so being the change maker, it all starts with you. And the cool thing about taking this program is that it first and foremost is that it helps increase your own cultivation. You improve your own health and your mental, emotional well-being, spiritual connection. You get to have the joy and presence of being able to be a part of society, helping society transform. You get to help others. This is my dream job. I couldn't think of it doing anything else. I don't wake up in the morning thinking, oh, I have to go in and treat so-and-so, or I have to go give this talk. Tomorrow, to Saturday, because Priest and I, one of the things that we do is we're clinical directors for all of California for the Special Olympics for a program called Healthy Athletes, Strong Minds. And tomorrow we're blessed with our staff to go and volunteer where we're teaching Qigong to the athletes, coaches, and their families to give them the same tools that I'm giving to you. So wouldn't it be cool to be able to learn this stuff, to be able to teach it, and what I mean teach is to really understand. So the difference with our program is that we don't want you to say, oh, well, do this practice just because it feels good. I want you all to understand medicinally what is happening inside the body and what emotions you actually are working on when you're doing different movements or you're doing different meditative practices. So, and the cool thing too is that you get to spread the love to the world. So being the change. So you sign up for the program. This is what you will see. You'll have support from myself and Parisa throughout the course there's a forum, so a chat room, email, and or phone. You'll be given a foundational practice to enhance your personal practice that you have going on already. Or let's say you're a yoga instructor and want to take it to the next level and also give your fellow yogis practices to really deal with the emotions as they are working with their body. The opportunity to become a teacher and share this beautiful practice with the world. Our dream is that there's a standardized practice around the world. And with the Special Olympics, my dream is that Qigong is a staple as far as the mindfulness program with the Special Olympics first across the United States and then around the world, to help to improve the lives of people with special needs and disabilities, to empower them, to give them the power and the tools, not only to deal with stress of competition, but more importantly, to deal with day-to-day stress. So one of our other Qigong teacher trainers, Kari here, she is an acupuncturist. She's been with us for many, many years. And I've, when she first came on to Morning Crane, her energy was a little bit rough. She came from a medical practice where the doctor, I guess, was very controlling and rigid. And so when she first came on with us, you know, she kind of thought that that's how we were too. And my main thing when I have practitioners come into Morning Crane is that, no, just do your job, heal the world, and have a successful business. So when she started doing it, when she finished the Qigong Teacher Training program, she's now out there teaching for us. And not only is she teaching for us, but also she's speaking for us as well too, because also we have a big contract with the government of Santa Clara County in charge of the 16,000 employees for the Employee Wellness Department, where we give talks to trauma nurses, doctors, CPS, you name it, Sheriff's Department, on how to combat disease and how to beat the burnout using these ancient practices. So sign up today. Sign up within the next 48 hours. Our next level 1 starts January 28th, 2019. One payment of $1,500, which will save you $450, or you can make 3 payments of $600, and overall the course, then you'll actually save $150. Take advantage of this opportunity. You know, this price will be going up as we continue to grow, and as we get more and more people that are interested in this program. So $1,500 is a minor investment in being able to improve your health and help to change the world. So on behalf of Priest and myself, thank you so much for joining, and God bless, and may the Qi be with you.